welcome to episode 30 of Me Dark Presents Scary Movie Madness.
I can't believe it's episode 30.
Yeah, we're a year removed from starting this. I think we started it probably around this time last year.
Yeah, it's probably exactly this time, actually.
Yeah. I think we should maybe do another one of those batch run episodes where it's 10 movies.
Just count them down.
Yeah. I mean, well, because you were kind of saying one of the things that's bothering you is that you don't like how spoilery some of the pods are.
Yeah, especially a movie that's new and you can go see in theaters.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about Malignant today, which you're referring to, that you could watch actually on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm. But it's in theaters.
Is it also in theaters too?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I guess are people that in love with going to movie theaters that it's still a preference to be like, oh, I can just watch this at home, but I'll go to the movies anyway.
I mean, I would. Sometimes you just want to get out. Who the hell wants to sit home if you can go see it on a huge screen?
Yeah.
Especially now the movie theaters have couch seats.
Depends on the movie.
Yeah. There's definitely movies I don't care to see on a big screen.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about horror in the movie theater as opposed to home? I kind of like it at home.
It depends, I guess. Because sometimes it's fun in the theater when it's really a good one and everybody's scared as shit.
Yeah, that I'll give you. Yeah. I agree.
But it has to be something that you know is going to be. I remember seeing Texas Chainsaw in theaters.
Mm-hmm. The remake one, which
the Jessica Biel one, yeah.
Yeah, we just rewatched that recently, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Duh.
It's funny. What was your take on the rewatch of that? Because that movie came out in 2003, right? It was a long time ago. Longer ago than I
2003
thought.
or 4, just thinking about who I saw it with.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember literally going to see it and being so terrified, running to my car. And It was super late. I was in college. It was me and another girlfriend. And we were just fuck, and ran out of the place. It was so scary in the theater because, come on, the speakers and the chainsaw and the sound effects that they used in that version were all so on point.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that still holds up. But
yeah.
There's definitely some parts of it that I was but when you really get into the substance of the movie, to me it's still good. It's terrifying. End of story.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's parts of it that definitely are still pretty scary. And I think as far as horror remakes go, which I kind of want to dive into more of these, the remake of Halloween. I think they redid Jason also, which we don't even like the original Jason. So I'm maybe I like the new modern spin on it. Jason's not my favorite character anyway, but I would kind of just be interested to watch it because I think my biggest thing with the remake is I really enjoy Leatherface more in the remake, only because I think the way that they changed his mask.
Yeah. Super terrifying.
Was scarier. I think when we did our scariest masks and you had picked Leatherface, I had commented there's something like a sloth from Goonies kind of vibe with the original. There is something a little goofy about the original one. It's still very scary. And I think overall, now having watched the remake again with fresh eyes and having watched the original for our podcast, and we kind of watch the original every year anyway during this time of year.
It's a good one.
I think I do still prefer the original because they changed almost everything in the remake. I didn't realize how much they changed going back and watching it.
Yeah, they changed a lot of the elements, I think, just to be more aggressive. I have a lot of opinions on Michael Bay, but I'll keep them to myself. So not surprising some of the things that he changed just because he's a scummy human sometimes. But you do that to just get the shock value, to get with the times and the things that will be shocking in the times. So I think the ideas were still there. They still pick up a hitchhiker, right? And that hitchhiker still is an issue.
Yeah, it just doesn't set the stage as well. Yeah,
that one is just, it feels a little different in the new one. That's what I mean. It's the shot when she shoots herself in the head and the camera pans through.
But not as it's not as hard hitting as the hitchhiker man that they pick up in the original.
He's like crazy.
Because the guy he's just so off.
And erratic.
And just like, not like any real person you've ever seen before, that even as an audience member, forget the people that are pretending to be in that scenario picking up that guy. Even as an audience member, you're going like, what the hell is this guy? Like, who is this? And then when you learn that he's part of this like creepy family and everything, it just ties together better. Whereas this one, you know, she just blows her head off in the beginning. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, it's shocking. It's kind of gross to look at, but it doesn't have the same kind of connection to the story.
Yeah.
R. Lee Ermey, though, who plays the policeman, the sheriff, he's such a welcome addition, I felt, to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series overall. He's absolutely brilliant, I thought. He's the scariest part of the movie.
I mean, it's just a never-ending moment with him.
What a
Like,
despicable.
Jesus, it just gets worse every step of the way. It's almost like you actually question, I do, every time I watch it. It's like, are you supposed to really believe that he is the sheriff? Because he shows up.
Right.
But Jessica Biel's running in there. They told her 30 minutes and he's already there.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, is it really the sheriff? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's so frustrating to watch some of the scenes and how he just bullies the kids.
Yeah.
And then the last comment I'll make on it is how, this is purely just from a man's perspective, how distracting Jessica Biel is in the film. She's,
oh my God.
But is it not distracting? I mean, it was distracting for me.
I don't ever watch a movie and I'm like, I can't watch this movie because this man is so attractive. That's definitely a fucking man thing.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like normally I'm not like that. It's not like I get distracted that easily. For some reason in this movie, just, I don't know. She was at like the peak prime of her life and it was just very hard to concentrate.
Moving on.
So let's move on. And before we jump into our films that we're going to talk about in a little more deeper discussion for this pod, I just wanted to reiterate again that it's super important that if you do like this podcast and you subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, please, try to go out of your way to like and subscribe and review. It helps us out a lot to get just traction in the search algorithms and things like that.
Yep. Bookmark or sharing, all of those things help.
Instagram, super important because Instagram has given us a lot of shit about shadow bans and things like that.
Instagram just hates anything that isn't 15-year-old girls doing shitty TikTok dances.
It is funny. Like you can shove underage girls like dancing sexually in my face and there's no problem with that whatsoever.
But I talk about a movie that's literally nationwide and
right.
in every theater that you can go to a fucking store and buy, and Instagram's like, nope.
Well, we went over
back to these little 15-year-old boobs.
It is really wild. And like it's perfectly okay for Instagram to like put these filters in place for young people to use and abuse to just manipulate their face to be like a totally different person. That's cool.
But talk about real shit.
We'll allow that. But somebody that wants to make like actual content that's like creative and takes time, it's like,
don't say the F word.
Let's fuck them over. Yeah.
Don't say the S word.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, now we're banned.
So let's talk about Malignant. This is a new one. As we mentioned before, it's in the theaters. You could also watch it on HBO Max. HBO Max, by the way, I can't recommend it enough as an app. It's just they have a great library of HBO. Just in general has such a great library of
especially if you need to watch like you're out of shit to watch on Netflix.
Well, yeah, we're going through and watching The Sopranos. I had never seen The Sopranos.
Crazy.
I mean, when it came out, we were 15. I was sort of like not really ready to take that on.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a very serious show. It was like your parents watched the show kind of thing.
Yeah. Funnily enough, like the episode we watched last night where like he wants to send AJ to military school and he's like verbally abusing him. And I got like sort of like traumatized from it because it reminded me so much of my dad and my family. Like they really
like you were so bad you needed to go to military school.
I can't even tell you how many times I was threatened with military school.
Oh my God.
This was like a thing that Italian families did. Like if you got out of line anyway.
It was that or like private school.
Mm-hmm. And the verbal abuse, the threat of physical abuse. I mean, we grew up in just a totally different time.
Yeah.
Especially with just savage conservative Italians. Like, and how much? Like,
just no, don't even say it. You didn't say that. False conservative. Like the fact of like the conservativeness was just a scam. Like we didn't go to fucking church.
No.
But it was like, do your communion, do your baptism.
Well, I mean, at least in The Sopranos,
Stupid.
What's his wife's name?
Carmela.
She's like pretty big in the church and goes to the church and kind of practices a little bit what she preaches.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like, bitch, you're living in this 6,000 square foot mansion that is all paid for with blood money, basically.
That's what I mean.
Like, and that's okay. But you go to church and 100%, it's fine.
Yeah.
But this is,
and they drink and they smoke and they gamble and they do all this shit. I mean, that's against everything in the conservative ass religion they follow.
I have such a love-hate relationship with it because I relate to it so much because of the big Italian family on the East Coast, right? They're New Jersey, we're Long Island. It's not that much different. It's like, and they really do just nail the vibe of it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They just get it all
like
right.
There's so many characters in it that you watch and you're like, that's so-and-so. Well, yep, that's my uncle right there. Oh, that's my cousin. Exactly how she was.
You can, to a man or woman, you can pick out like, oh yeah, I know that person.
Especially if you're a New York,
a relative of mine,
New Jersey, Brooklyn, Italian, like one of those.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, HBO Max, can't recommend it enough. I think it was like $150 for the year or something like that. No ads. I mean, you can't go wrong. I think like 1 month of a cable box subscription is more than that. So it's just ridiculous. Like if you have cable at this point,
adding all the channels.
I don't know what to tell you.
You get your stupid football channel, forget it. $200+ later.
Yeah. So Malignant, directed by an absolute horror legend, James Wan. This guy responsible for the Saw franchise, which is, I mean, just it's a phenomenal feat for him in that. I'm trying to think of another franchise, a horror franchise that's like super popular like this that didn't rely on the slasher formula. Because like for whatever reason, slashers, like when a slasher hits, they just like they make
17 of them.
They make those movies forever.
Yeah,
right. It's like,
and it's the same thing in a different setting. Every time.
Yeah, John Carpenter, when did you do Halloween? Like 1970s. They're still making Halloween movies now. Like it's a cash cow.
Like the Saw series, what's kind of like interesting about that, right, is that the kills get so creative every time. So you're more so watching Saw for like, what is the puzzle and the kills gonna be? Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, it's this formula. It's basically like the world's worst escape room, right? And before escape rooms were a thing. Yeah. And you get such creative execution of like, the most wild contraption and the most wild like depictions of your worst fears and having to face them, right? And so that's what I think, even though there's like 18 of them, it's like I would, if I'm bored, I'll put it on because at least I know I'll be entertained by the creativity of the kills.
Yes, you know that they're going to be entertaining, and Saw is always good about providing some sort of a twist. Yeah. You know that there is
no matter how obvious you think the answers are.
There is a formula to the Saw movies, just like, I'm not saying that there's not.
Oh yeah, there is.
But they are fun. James Wan, he's a fun director. This movie is another fun one. This guy did Insidious, The Conjuring. Like these are big time, like
movies
hard
that
hitting.
People consider pretty insane. I think Insidious we just talked about too. Of like, but people really love that, and I just don't remember caring.
We were talking about Sinister.
Oh, that's right.
Sinister was billed to us as like,
why do I confuse
you guys have to watch Sinister. It is the scariest movie ever.
Oh yeah, like heart racing goes to an 11.
I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't scared at all watching this movie, but maybe it's just
The Conjuring is way better.
And people hate The Conjuring. They shit on it. And what's funny is like, I'm not a paranormal guy. Like, you know this. I'm not a ghost guy. And to me, I think The Conjuring is one of the scarier ghost movies you can watch.
Yeah. They did a great job making it feel more realish. Mm-hmm. You know, like more documentary-ish in a,
I agree the way that it's filmed. Not to the extent of, there was another one that we watched, was at The Taking of Deborah Logan recently.
Oh my God.
That one was more documentary filmed because I guess they were actually filming a documentary on Alzheimer's or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, like those possession movies or whatever, I'm just over it. I
Yeah.
don't care anymore. You're just making the same movie over and over again.
Yeah,
as
it's
far as
hard.
I'm
It's
concerned.
hard.
The main character, Madison Mitchell, played by Annabelle Wallis, I thought she was phenomenal. She's a really good actress, and the concept here is that she is haunted by her parasitic twin. What do you think of this concept?
I think it's interesting because you have a vision of what a parasitic twin would look like in your mind, and it's not this.
Yeah, the twin's name is Gabriel. Yeah, I mean, he definitely looks gnarly. And again, I don't expect anything less from James Wan. I think visually he's just a really creative guy. Like I always expect that things that he does are going to look really cool and interesting. My biggest knock on him in this movie.
Wait, Gabriel's a dark angel of some kind.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's like a fallen angel who went
angel or something
to
like
the other side.
The one thing though that I kept laughing at in this movie, how many times they show an establishing shot of the house.
Oh my God. It was like they ran out of footage.
I think I needed, but the shot of the house is different every time. It's like it's a jib shot of some kind, or like
right,
some
but it's
sort
almost
of
like they just keep taking a 1 second moment from that same series of, all right, we're gonna just do a bunch of these so we have it just in case. And it's like, all right, the film isn't long enough. Just keep adding a second of the house every 10 minutes.
Yeah, I would have boiled that down to 2 at most. Like give me an establishing shot at night, 1 during the day. All right, then I know that I'm in the house. I know what it looks like. You don't need to keep showing.
Quality over quantity. We don't need the extra. And we're at the house again. And the house is here again. One more time, we're at the house.
We're at the house.
In case you forgot what it looked like, though, here it is again.
Here's the house. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Overall, directing wise, yeah, visually very cool. Acting wise, though, a little uneven. The line in the beginning with the doctor, it's like they do the zoom in like close to the face, like pause for dramatic effect. It's time to cut the cancer out.
But it's also the chaos of the scene.
The chaos is crazy. Like
it's so unrealistic. It almost felt like they were going to cut and show me some like alien movie that someone was watching, but it's supposed to be real.
Well, it's purposeful though, because we don't know what Gabriel looks like at this point.
Yeah.
We know that it's some sort of a small child, right? That's doing all this. We don't really know exactly what's going on behind the door. And all these doctors are getting mauled basically. And the head surgeon is like, that's it. We can't save it. We have to cut the cancer out. And it's just like,
it was I don't know. The feeling of it didn't match the rest of the movie is I guess what I'm saying.
I agree. When the opening to this movie is kind of cheesy.
Yeah. It feels like it should have been then cutting to like a kid watching TV and it was a bad sci-fi movie that they were watching.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like was going to happen. But then I was so confused from there because I was like, oh no, this is part of the actual movie and the story. And I was very lost at first.
Yeah.
Because it felt so separate.
We flash forward in time now to the Madison character when she's pregnant in the house. And it just, the husband abuses her, right? He smashes her head into the wall. And this like awakens Gabriel in her brain.
Yep. But you don't know it at the time.
You don't really know what it is. We just know that there's like some sort of like a demonic entity that's killing people, but she can see the kills. So I love the world transitions that they do, how like the VFX behind her, like wherever she is, like it kind of warps into the world where Gabriel is.
Kind of like Doctor Strange-ish chaos.
I think that was really cool.
I loved it. Yeah. I thought that like when that started to happen, I was like, oh, okay. Like this is a lot better than how it started.
A lot better. And like the fact that she's able to see, when Gabriel kills somebody and how, and all the kills that he does are like, they relate to that moment that we watched in the beginning. Like he's basically seeking his revenge against the doctors that cut him out. And she can see this because he's sort of still a part of her somehow, but we're not really clear on
what's happening.
Now another downside of this movie, and again, we talk about this a lot, are detectives and police in horror movies. Kakoa Shaw, the good-looking guy, Detective Shaw, and his partner Regina, the black girl.
The super young guy. The whole casting of that, is not great.
Yeah, Detective Shaw, like he's like this good-looking, well-dressed man, and I'm like, first of all, his age range in and of itself, I don't believe that you're a detective. Like, what is he in his 20s or something like that? No. Like, and it was almost like hamstrung in because they tried to maybe do like a little like love angle a little bit with Madison's sister and him.
Like it was like an awkward, I hate you chemistry.
Yeah, and then the partner is just uninteresting. She's very much about like, she just wants to pin the whole thing on Madison the whole time, just completely ignoring like the sheer like supernatural element to this whole thing. Like clearly something crazy is going on. Like this is supernatural. It's not and she's like trying to boil it down like a real detective, like
an abused wife.
All the evidence points to, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like you're just brain dead.
Yeah. It's like, I just don't want to do the work. Like, this sounds great. Let's just go with that.
Yeah. Pacing wise, I think it's pretty good because, again, there's a little bit of a mystery to unpack here, right? About like, okay, we know all the doctors are getting offed by this crazy killer that, you know, we obviously assume is Gabriel from the beginning, but we're like, how is that possible? Like he doesn't exist anymore. And the mystery of like how she's able to see the kills, but then end up in her bed. And then she's like, whenever she wakes up too, she's like bleeding from the back of her head, which is funny. Cause like in hindsight, once they reveal like what's going on, you're like, oh, it is kind of obvious.
It is kind of obvious, but at the same time, like you would never think it.
Right.
Never in a million years would you think that this was it, which makes sense because again, you go back to Saw and I say all the time, like, thinking of those scenarios and contraptions, like you are a serial killer. Like who just thinks of that stuff? It's so weird. Like you have to have a very specific brain, and that brain is a little fucking terrifying. Yeah,
this concept of this woman who has a parasitic twin that gets cut out, but a little piece of him is left behind, and her husband, who's abusive to her while she's pregnant, smashes her head up against the wall, which awakens him. So he can basically pop out the back of her skull and take over her body while she's like sleeping. And he feeds on like, I guess she had gotten pregnant several times. So we learned that he was keeping himself alive by feeding on the fetuses. Like he
and
kept
that was
killing
driving
all
the
the
wedge with
fetuses.
her husband.
Right.
Because she's upset that she can't have a baby.
But when this thing pops out the back of her head, man, for the first time.
Crazy.
It is, right? What a wild visual.
It's like, again, I like, even all the leading up to it, I was still so confused as to what was going on at first. Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around it because it's that wild. Like, that's the best way to explain it. Is like, no matter what you think might be happening, you're not expecting this.
No.
I don't care who you are. Like, don't even try to be a hero here.
Yeah.
Like, they came up with something that was unbelievable to the level you couldn't think about it. You couldn't come up with it from putting the clues together. You were only going to know about it once they showed you.
Yeah.
That's it.
What do you think about how he moves around? Because I think they show like there's a sequence where we kind of see Gabriel like form out of Madison for the first time. And like he's able to somehow bend her arms the reverse way.
It's like she's double jointed in every limb.
And I'm like, I don't know about this part of it.
I don't know. I mean, it's very Grudge-like. That's what I think about. It's the Grudge or The Ring, that like Japanese horror kind of.
It does have a Japanese horror kind of vibe. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, then the hair is like all like in the face.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm like
face. Oh my God, we talking about the face.
Yeah, obviously you have to suspend any kind of disbelief because it is a supernatural.
Yeah, I mean anything's possible if your demon parasitic twin can open your skull and just start walking backwards and killing people.
Not only walking backwards, but like running, like full speed, like at superhuman speeds.
This thing is not disabled.
and he can like jump really high and far. Like there's that scene where he's jumping down all the fire escapes. And if you have to think about this, if Madison, he's taking over Madison's body, she's backwards, and he's just grabbing, I don't know, like how do you like, I'm jumping off a fire escape, landing this way. My arms would be like going this, like breaking, and he's doing it at like an elite athletic level, beyond a superhero level. I mean, she's
basically a two-sided person.
It's wild, man.
I think that there is a movie that's like this, where not a movie that's like a character, and I'm gonna think about it and it's gonna pop up. mid-conversation. There's something I see in my head and I can't place it right now.
A character like this that's backwards, two-sided?
Something that does like
Not
something like that.
Batman.
No, it's a horror thing. And now I can't. I'm going to think about it and it's going to end up like a post.
Okay.
At some point. But once I think of it, I see it in my head, it'll come together. But it is this super jagged movement. But I think what really, like you're saying, kicks it is like it's fast. Like that's the most scariest thing. But it ties back because she says she always referred to it as the devil.
The devil.
And so it then lends you to this like very demonic kind of idea, right? If it's the devil, if it's this thing that kills people, if it can turn her body and can be contortionate, right? Like it's a very demonic thing. Think like The Exorcist.
Contortionate a word?
Yeah, I guess I just made it. You knew what I meant.
I do. That's one of the weird things about like words like that, because when I know what they mean and I'm not sure if they're a real word, I'm like, well, that should be a real word because I did know what it meant.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah.
I just took the English language and
sure
made my own word out of it. That's it.
Yeah.
The logic of how words work in English is its own mystery.
So one of my favorite scenes, and it's just when he just goes ham on everybody in that one room. They're all like firing guns at him and stuff, and he's just able to like maneuver in such a way that he's basically like bullet dodging at this point. He also has like this ability to like manipulate like electric currents and some, you know how like he talks through like radio signals and stuff, and he can like explode light bulbs and stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really, really wild. But just the action sequence of it is very well shot and it's very smooth. I like action sequences where I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't like the Bourne Identity stuff where the camera cuts every half a second, everything's super shaky. And I'm just like, you didn't choreograph anything. You're just trying to piece together an action shot in editing. I hate that stuff. I like when it's nice and smooth like this and I can see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, especially like when it's this interesting of a creature kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the next thing is like, I kind of come away with this going like, all right, well, if nothing else, like, you know, the story is cool, but it is sort of one note. You know, you are kind of just riding the same wave the whole time.
Yeah, it's all about riding the wave of the reveal of what it is.
Yeah, and even then, it's like it never really strays into like anything more interesting than that. Like they try to develop characters and have relationship components, but the characters in and of themselves are not really that fleshed out.
Oh, no, but there's that one scene that's what kills it for me too. So now that you say that, when they're in the hospital room with the mother who gave them up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I never should have let them cut you out. And it's this moment where you're like, oh my God, are we really going to do this right now? Where it's like the mother's love turns Gabriel around.
Yes.
And I was like, this is just as bad as we have to cut the cancer out.
Yeah.
You know, next
that's
version.
Just it is like, you didn't earn that moment.
Yes,
that's the problem is like, and listen, I come away from this movie going like the creature is totally something that I've never really seen before. Maybe it is derivative of something else, but just for me personally, I've never
it's not
seen it.
When I was making that comment. Not like they copied something. I'm saying the movement.
Yeah. I mean, I give them so much credit for coming up with something that feels fresh and original. But overall, like character-wise, super weak. Like very weak character development in this movie to the point where you don't really care about anybody, maybe other than Madison, right? Because you feel for the fact that she's gone her whole life with like this memory block from her childhood, right? She doesn't remember anything before she's 9 years old, although I don't remember anything from before last week most of the time. But she has this really traumatizing childhood. She had this abusive husband because she couldn't get pregnant. Like this thing has just been a haunt on her entire existence.
Yeah.
So it's like, in that aspect, it's like I can connect to a character like that, right? But you've spent so much time developing Madison and giving me so many other characters that just suck.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, in the end, like if this movie could have been something super special, it now just sort of falls a little bit flat for me, even though I fully expect because of James Wan and who he is, and I'm sure this has a lot of success. They're probably gonna just run this thing into the ground with sequel after sequel after sequel.
It's worth watching.
I definitely
because it's
recommend
creative.
watching the movie. Yeah. So then we watched this other one. So what I want to try to do is when we do like these twofer podcasts where we have the two movies, I want to try to also like introduce people to maybe something that they've never heard of before,
course,
like
yeah.
we did with like the cleaning lady and stuff like that.
Love that one, and people loved that.
So this one is called The Boy Behind the Door. This is a Shudder original. And I think you can find a lot of these kind of hidden gems on Shudder. I mean, when you think about it, a streaming service that's dedicated entirely to the horror genre, you're going to find a lot of like indie kind of underground stuff on here because they have to fill a whole library of material. This one came out last year. Directed by David Charbonier. I don't know how to say his name. It's well documented on this pod. I can't say names. And Justin Powell. These guys are inspiring to me, right? Because they're coming off of doing a couple of shorts, and they sold this one to Shudder as a feature. And they have another one coming out this year called The Dijin. D-J-I-N-N. I don't know how to say that.
The Dijin.
But this is essentially the formula that I'm trying to take, right? In being a filmmaker is doing a couple shorts, learning the ropes, figuring out how to actually make a film. And then, you know, you make the feature, and then hopefully you can get it sold to somebody. So this is basically what these guys did. This is a dream come true for them. Plot here, again, very straightforward.
Simple. I knew in the first 10 seconds. Remember?
Very simple.
I was like, oh, they're kidnapping these boys for like a sex trafficking situation. Boom.
You did know right away. Sometimes you have this weird brain with this stuff.
I have a sixth sense.
Yeah, you can predict plots pretty well, honestly.
I think it's because, and this is awful to say, but I very much am so like intrigued by the psychology of things like this, like kidnappers and like serial killers and like murderers. Like it's
despicable.
It is. It's so despicable. That's why I said it's awful. I know it is, but my brain is like very much like a problem solver. Like I like to look at the facts and find what's happening and what the solution is and all that. So like when I see those opening scenes, I know this is setting me up for what I'm about to watch. And I look at the elements and I'm like, this is pretty kind of reminiscent of what most stories are when this happens. So it just immediately...
I mean, it makes sense. Like you see this opening scene with these two young boys being kidnapped, and you're like, in your brain, you just go like, well, why is somebody kidnapping two young boys?
Well, that's what I mean.
You know?
It's like in your face, facts. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Now, I will say the way that they filmed this opening sequence is very well done. It's very disturbing.
It's so disturbing.
The two boys, Bobby and Kevin. Bobby played by Lonnie Chavez, and Kevin played by Ezra Dewey. I mean, bravo to these kids. This can go so wrong so many ways when you write a plot really to any movie that has to be carried by child actors.
And it's serious.
But yeah, that's what I mean. When it becomes a horror genre thing, where it's like you're dealing with some really heavy kind of real world stuff here with like...
It's not like It. It's not like supernatural kids dicking around.
Right, where it's like, we're going to pretend there's a scary clown over here. This is like, no, this is a real world danger. Yeah. And I mean, I just think they do a great job. And it's like when you have a film like this where the plot is so simple and the set piece is, I mean, let's face it, we're just in a house again the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of this is just stripped down to be very safe for the filmmakers, which I get why you would do this as sort of a novice filmmaker. Is don't overwhelm yourself with complex plot points and complex characters and lots of set pieces and changing. This makes sense. But in this sense, it's like they did take a little bit of a risk going, well, we're basically going to follow like one kid around the whole time for the most part. And it does work. What did you think of Bobby's escape from the trunk?
I thought it was actually really well done in that it didn't seem like it was too fast. You know, it wasn't like, oh, he kicked it a few times and boom, he was out. Like that kid had to work.
There's real tension there.
Yeah. Like I was like, is this going to work? Are they going to hear him? Like what's going to happen here? And I think it's such a good display of what happens when your adrenaline is pumping and you know, like, I got to do something. I got to get out of here,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think they do a good job of the shots with the chaos of that feeling.
They definitely do. And like that little light that goes on in the trunk as he just like, he slightly gets it open, the light keeps flicking
and
on
it's
and
like
off.
that makes your adrenaline go like, I'm almost there.
Such a cool shot. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Kill Bill 2 when she gets buried alive and she's like in that little claustrophobic box and she's got to just keep doing the little punch thing. But it's that kind of edit where it's like boom, boom, and it's like that rhythm of like the struggle in such a tight space. Claustrophobia, it's got to be one of the most terrifying, frustrating things.
There was this like science museum in New Jersey that I went to, and one of the like rooms was like a sensory deprivation kind of thing where you went through one that was like you couldn't see and it was pitch black, so it was like being someone who was blind. It's like an experiential to like, there was ones where you put these headphones on and you couldn't hear anything and you couldn't see anything. No. Like they were like, all right, be prepared. You're going to have to do like X, Y, Z. And I remember going through and when it was getting smaller and I couldn't see. Oh no, I was having like panic attacks.
Of course.
I was like, nope, I got to knock, like let me out of this. Like I'm good. Like
so no for the sensory deprivation tanks for you then.
Oh, hells no.
I couldn't do it either.
No shot. A panic mode ensued.
I'm one of those like when somebody brings up like, oh, the benefits of meditation and quiet and how you can, I just want to like, fuck you. I'm not doing it. Like, no, I don't want that state. That state is not comfortable for me.
Sounds like a coma.
It's not a de-stressing state to just like shut everything off, have your senses just like, no, there's something torturous about that in my mind.
Right. Like I almost feel like that most times that's people who can't deal with their thoughts. Like I like what's going on in my head because I feel like it's makes me more aware. I like to think about a lot of things, and
I mean, look, if it works for you, then cool. Life is just about finding shit that works.
But don't force meditation on me because I can't turn this brain off.
I think meditation is another one of those things. It's like CrossFit or like Peloton, right? It's like you get into like these cultural.
Throw that in there.
but that's just it. Is like people find something that's really powerful for them, right?
Of course.
That like really works, and they're like, you want to share it with other people and be like, I do this diet, right? It's like I have this diet. I think it's great. You should do this diet too. It's the same thing with meditation. Anything. It's like people want to just preach what they do.
Life is about being social and sharing.
Yeah.
Let's just say, we just went on a real tangent.
This
is a dark ass movie, and we're talking about exercise and meditation.
Yes. But I like how, so getting back to the movie, I like how Bobby serves sort of as the eyes of the audience here because there's a little bit to unpack, right, about this house, and there's a mystery behind who kidnapped them in the first place. And he has every opportunity to run away once he gets out of this trunk, but he's like, you know what? No, I'm going to go back for my friend. He's a real bro.
He's a real one. And he said, remember? That like, I think that's the line, right? Forever. What? Like,
oh, yeah.
They have that whole line in there.
Yeah, because he kind of finds where his friend's at. His friend is locked in this room, hence the boy behind the door, right? His friend Kevin is the boy behind the door that he has to free. And he has to do all this while navigating through the house without being seen or heard.
Yeah.
Which is, that's
stressful.
Scary for a little fucking kid. It'd be scary for me to do.
Because you have no idea you don't know who's behind this. He doesn't know, if it's an old guy, a young guy, you don't know anything about what you're going to be up against, how many people there are in this house, right? So like every corner is a terrifying
step. You don't know what's around the corner. Absolutely. You don't know if it's one person here that did this, if multiple people are involved. He does witness the one guy come and hand the kidnapper money. So then right away you're like, I knew it. It was sex trafficking. I was
like, see?
The sick fuck is there to have sex with these young boys, which
gross.
Is Jesus.
Is there anything worse? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, as far as writing horror goes, I mean, it's a good shortcut to getting your audience to learn a lot about a character very quickly.
Yeah.
What I will say is like, I think sometimes horror especially does benefit from these smaller casts of characters. You can spend more time with developing them to the point where like, okay, your audience legitimately can care about anything that happens to your protagonists. And something like this with the antagonists who are involved in sex trafficking of young children, it's a very nice way to get you to hate them immediately.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of the twist of it being a woman who's doing this?
I mean, it just makes it worse. Worse than ever. Like, I mean, you think about mothers and things like that. So like a woman who can do that, you are a real damaged person.
Yeah.
Really fucking damaged.
And there's we don't really get any kind of like connection as to why, which kind of sucks.
But I mean, is there ever a why that's justified? Like,
It's just about money.
Like there's literally nothing that you can say where it would like, I don't care what the why is, and I think that's maybe part of it is like, I don't give a fuck what the why is, no matter what. This is awful, and you're a piece of shit.
What do you think about the actress who plays the kidnapper, Kristen Bauer von Straten?
Well, with a name like that. No.
Kristen Bauer von Straten.
I mean, I don't really like remember it enough, which tells me enough, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not as memorable as like the kids in the movie and the way that they acted. I mean, it's not the most prominent part. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
I think they ask her to do too much.
Well,
I don't know that it's her fault. I don't know that she's bad at acting. She has a menacing face, which helps.
Yes, the face I remember, I was like, oh, this bitch.
Right. But I don't know, the presence of her on screen with the axe. There's something about it that bothered me.
The homage to The Shining.
Yeah, the homage to The Shining.
Here we go again.
We just talked about this with Fear Street. Like, you don't need to do this, man.
Like, there was a better option. There has to be something more creative than, oh, I'm going to use the axe on this door and I'm going to act like I can't just stick my arm through the hole.
But so they do the exact same fucking thing.
Yes.
It's the thing I actually made fun of The Shining for. Like, you literally took one of the worst scenes in The Shining. I know it's the most iconic, but
Here's Johnny is iconic, but it falls flat.
It bothers me to no end that he just sticks his hand through the hole and she just, with the weakest slash of a knife, just cuts the top of, and like I've cut the top of my hand before. It doesn't hurt that much.
I've like snipped my finger off.
You're not stopping me from getting through here because you're slashing me with a little knife. And they do the same thing here,
especially when it's a maniac.
Yeah, no. And so she chops down the door, gets the hole, and starts trying to unlock it, and he slashes her hand. But then they go back to this exact same setup again. And this time, she thinks he's hiding in the shower. He's not even like on the other side of the door. And she's sitting there on the other side of the door asking him to open it. Open the door.
Yeah.
You can't run from me. Just open it. And I'm like, just stick your hand through now and unlock it. But he's not there anymore.
It's the dumbest thing. The whole thing is stupid.
So then to make matters worse, it's like, all right, you don't want to come out. You don't want to unlock it. She just starts hacking at it again with the axe. I'm like, no, just the first time you just stick your hand through it and just unlock the door. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was such a wasted scene. It was almost like they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like they had this really great idea and it was full of like a decent amount of like tension and suspense. And then when you get to this point of like the, antagonist, I guess.
Yeah.
It just fell flat.
I think this is where the movie unravels for me.
Yeah,
because
it fell flat.
It does get even worse from here. Because they do the stupid ass freaking thing where the killer raises the weapon really slowly and I'm just about to murder you. And the kid tases her. It's like, all right, yeah. And then they do it again.
Not once, but twice, everybody.
Yeah, raises the axe really slowly, and then the cop shoots her in the back. Yeah.
The cops who were so fucking useless the whole time.
I mean, can we just stop this in movies, please? I don't understand, like, is this like something that like the studio presses on filmmakers or something where it's like they're so brain dead about how to make something interesting or new or different. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, everybody's just so afraid to just try a different thing.
Yeah.
They want to just go with what they know and what they've seen in movies over and over again. It's like, I don't want the killer to come back for one last scare. I don't want him to raise his knife really slowly so somebody can shoot him from the back.
I don't want it to always be a happy ending.
I mean, I think you can put together at this point a 2-hour montage of just shots from movies where the bad guy lifts his gun or whatever weapon of choice really slowly, and then somebody just shoots him before he can do anything.
So stupid.
It's just, come on, like, we can do this better.
Yeah, there's got to be other options.
I mean, overall, listen, if you have Shudder, throw this one on because, you know, they're up and coming filmmakers. I think they have some chops. I mean, the editing is very, really good. The cinematography is on point. There is some really good acting in it. It's just story-wise, it's a little too simple. I think they need to just like start to like develop like more of not just character, but like the twist of it being a woman is like, it was kind of like, okay, it was a twist for twist's sake that it's like, oh, look, it's a woman. You didn't expect that, right? And I'm like, all right.
I know. I like to think of it as like, too, if this is up and coming, like, you know how things are in the entertainment industry, and maybe they had something crazier. Maybe they had something
scaled
darker,
them back,
and they were like, no, like, that's too much, and like, they cut it, right? And maybe when this is at some point, these people are bigger, they're like, here's the director's cut of this, and it's like what they would have wanted. You know, I'd like to think when you have an idea like this that hasn't really been done, you don't bring in those elements of like the cheesy horror movie
just don't need to.
formula, right? Yeah. And so I like to think like there's probably an alternate ending out there somewhere.
Maybe.
And in order to get this made, they had to do the cheap shot.
It usually comes down to the money folk, right? I'm paying for you to make this movie, so I want this in it.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, like you don't have any option other than to be like, well, if I want to make a movie, I have to put this stupid shit in it for this guy or this girl because this is what they want.
Yeah.
All right, let's close out here with Head2Head.
We are back.
Yeah, let's get the games rolling for spooky season. We got a fun little horror one here. We're going to talk about, or we're going to choose from, in just a generic bucket of horror movie monster types.
Yep.
So not specific characters, but types, right?
Yep.
And these would be the worst horror creatures to actually be real.
Yep.
What's up?
I'm looking because I forgot to check.
Oh, who has first pick?
I was like, shit.
Listen, I'm going to concede. I'll give you first pick so you don't even have to check.
Really? You don't want to keep it like the same thing?
Let's just roll with it.
Oh.
So these are horror creatures that you don't want to be real. It would be devastating if tomorrow it was like, oh, surprise, this is a real thing now. We've just discovered that this is real.
All right.
To you, what would that be? What's the worst? You got the first pick.
What is the worst?
You wake up tomorrow and you're like, no, this is the worst thing that could have happened.
Gremlins.
Gremlins are the worst? That's your first pick?
I'm going with Gremlins because they just can keep multiplying and you don't know where they are, where they're hiding. And
they're
every
very
time
destructive.
They're so destructive.
Right.
And they literally just continue to multiply and can infest everything before you know it. Like you will have to just bomb a building.
Yeah, well, not only that, if it rains on them, forget it. That's something they never explored in the Gremlin series is like, what if it had started raining? Although what is kind of silly though is like there's snow everywhere and they go in the snow and somehow that water doesn't ripple. Yeah. I mean, the whole concept of Gremlins is just they don't follow science at all. Every creature is made up of water. Like,
yeah.
But my God, I did not expect you to go there with your first pick.
Yeah, you know what? Because the more I thought about it, is like that's chaos.
It is chaos. I'm going to one-up you, though, with what I think is by far the most chaotic thing.
Yeah.
And that I would never want this to be real. Yep. It is zombies.
I knew it, yeah.
Zombies are the fucking worst. Not only do zombies 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10 in any media that you read or watch, it's an apocalyptic night. The world is over. Zombies are here. That's basically what it is. Most of us are going to die and become zombies, and there's going to be a select few pockets of people all over the place that are trying to survive out in the wilderness.
That's fair.
And it's like, not only that, it's like, let's say you and I were fortunate enough to survive, right? We had our little pack. At some point, inevitably, you or I is going to get bitten, which means that the other one has to now watch you turn into a zombie and potentially have to kill you now.
Yeah.
It's absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. Zombies.
But I guess
all
like,
day.
For me, it's like there's different types, right? There's definitely those instances where you see zombies and they're fast and shit. And like then there's like the slow ass zombies. And it's like, would that really get out of control? I don't know.
I mean, we can't even handle the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, here we go. I'm not going this route. It's time for me to pick my other pick.
Listen, regardless of where you stand on like politically or the fuck ideology that you have these days on anything, I think we can all agree that COVID-19 fucking sucks, and we really do a poor job at handling it. Just overall,
it just
across
shows what
the
will
board.
happen if there is humans,
Yeah,
if there is zombies.
Exactly.
With the
There's going to be people that deny that zombie is a real thing. Like, I'm still sending my kid to school. Fuck the zombies.
Yeah.
Like,
You can't live in fear.
And then there's going to be other people that like don't have any idea what the hell to do. They just want to lock themselves down in their house in a privileged state because like, well, the zombies aren't my problem. Like, so it's like, no matter what, there's just people everywhere that would just handle this so poorly. It would go off the rails.
Yeah,
so
that's
quickly.
what we're seeing.
You would see assholes like walking into the zombie horde being like, this isn't real. This is a government thing. It's like, all right.
I'm not going to be
Thanks
threatened.
for helping the spread of zombies.
Thanks a lot.
All right. What is your second pick?
What
are
my
you
second
thinking
pick?
here? I mean,
Sorry,
there's a
my throat
lot.
is really dry.
Yeah, mine too.
I know there's a lot here. There's so many ways to go.
Yep. I gave you a big, there's a big list to choose from here.
I mean, I know what I definitely don't give a shit about. That's for sure. I'm gonna go. What do I get? 3 picks, right?
You get 4.
4.
You go over this every time.
I know.
Head to head.
It's been a while.
It's been
months.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Fuck. Okay. It's really hard. I'm gonna go with Giant Monster.
Of course. I mean, you were talking about this one before the pod.
Yeah, I know, but I was
Monster.
like really debating if you were gonna take it or not. So
Okay.
Giant Monster. I mean, again, it's the destructive piece. Like, depending which one it is, obviously, there's a lot of different ones. But like,
Cloverfield.
have you seen Cloverfield?
Godzilla.
I mean,
Yeah.
Godzilla. Like pretty destructive.
Giant monsters are terrifying.
Yeah. Like, where are you gonna go?
The Mist.
Oh my God, The Mist.
Come on. The Mist. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. It's
that big tentacle fucking thing.
yeah. It's like, again, one foul swoop is taking out a whole town.
Well, yeah, and not only that, it's like you have to think about like what kind of action we would potentially take against something like that, and then just the destructive fallout of that. Like you'd be talking about like people wanting to launch a nuclear warhead at that thing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, let's say that thing does get unleashed on New York City or something like that, because it always is that
Right.
way.
The only way to destroy it is to destroy everything around it.
New York City is gone.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
can't
it's
just
just
get
gone.
rid of something that large without taking out everything around it.
Terrifying. Now, I will say, from a survival standpoint, as long as you're not in the vicinity when the giant
Get in
monster
your car and you
breaks
fucking
out,
go.
you should be, you have a good chance of surviving.
Imagine if you're in a plane, though, while it's there and you're in the vicinity.
And it just like grabs the
fucking
plane. I mean, Cloverfield, they had a good idea with the subway. That makes that's a good that's a good hideout. All right, what am I gonna go for my number 2 pick here? What would really suck?
We both picked our like swarm already.
I'm gonna say,
It's hard.
It is
don't feel bad
hard.
now. I thought I was taking a while, but
I'm gonna say Aliens.
oh, you fucking bitch.
I think Aliens, I mean, they're kind of, you could make the argument that they might be on par with zombies, just in a different aspect, in that, I mean, and if you're talking about like the aliens from like the Alien movie and how powerful they are, and if they were to infiltrate the planet, I don't think there's really anything we could do really to stop them.
Yeah, in my head, this was why I was struggling, because I was going between the giant monster where I know you're going to have to destroy everything around it, or the aliens who essentially, in every situation, are smarter than us.
Yeah.
So, like, terrified.
Yeah, aliens are...
But now, I will say, there's going to be people who call your ass out because they're going to be like, aliens are real, bitch. So...
Well, I guess I just mean in the context of like horror creatures, like horror aliens.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, honestly, what's funny is like if anything I think were to be real on this list that I would believe is actually real, it's aliens.
Yeah, why not? We live on a planet. Why is it so weird to think there's
gotta be
on
life
other
elsewhere?
planets?
Yeah.
Right. Like we may just not understand how to make life sustainable on those planets, because again, if aliens are smarter than us, they're living on planets with shit conditions that we can't live on. But
True,
they have
but
adapted.
maybe they can. But then maybe they can't live here by that logic.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. But still.
All right,
you
number
definitely
3.
get those people who are like, that's not fair. So maybe that'll help me win. Okay. My last one. There's one that
not last one.
I mean, my next one. Sorry. My next one. So I've got gremlins. I've got a giant monster. Fuck.
I mean, there's one I can't believe that you're not going to, because it scares the crap out of me.
I know. It's probably what I'm going to do right now. Demons, because fuck you. Like, you can't see them.
And it can possess you.
Like, they can take over your body, and before anyone even knows it, you're already fucking gone, and you're doing weird shit. I mean...
You're stabbing your vag with a crucifix. Your head is spinning around, puking green slime.
You're just randomly yelling in Latin, and being thrown across the room and violently shaken. It's not even just that though. Like then you even just think about demons in your house, where I'd just be sitting here and something fucking flies across the room. Like what? And you can't see it. You don't know where it is. You don't know where it went.
Well, that would be more ghost, I feel like.
Demons? No, that's...
Don't they typically have to possess a body?
No, babe. See, now I gotta give you lessons again. We've done this. Ghosts are usually not a violent presence. And your demons are your poltergeist version of a ghost.
Gotcha.
So that's the difference. Like demons are more of the violent side. A ghost can usually be peaceful. They're just...
Okay.
Unfinished business, whereas a demon is like, I'm here to fuck shit up.
Gotcha. All right, a demon definitely
100%.
Terrifying.
Yes. Remember the other night I told you?
What?
My sleep paralysis demon was in the corner and you laughed at me.
Yeah, I've never experienced the sleep paralysis demon that you speak of.
I have.
And I don't really get that great of sleep lately. So.
That's why you got to take that melatonin.
Maybe that's what it is.
No match for the demon.
It's like, you're like, yeah.
Just put my ass in
You're
a
like
coma.
tripping on melatonin.
Yeah.
All right, where am I going to go with my next pick? I want to go with witches.
You fucking bitch. Like, this is killing me. This is why it's so hard, because I'm like, oh, he's going to pick one of these. And then, like, son of a bitch.
I probably would have taken demons over witches. I'm not going to lie.
I knew that.
But yeah, witches, I think especially for a man.
It's because you like WandaVision and now you see how destructive a witch can be.
Well, yeah, she's a whole other fucking level.
Love
but
Wanda.
In a horror context, a witch can really fuck you up.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Not only devastate you physically, but devastate the environment around you, your loved ones. I mean, they can really, like any kind of curse or hex or whatever they want to put on, it's like... She can make it so you never enjoy food again.
Oof.
Or just like...
So your dick doesn't work again.
Yeah, it's just a devastating existence. If you fuck with a witch, like, yeah, good luck. Like the Blair Witch, right? They fucked with the Blair with the Witch.
The Witch.
When they fucked with the Blair Witch, it's like...
No
good night.
way.
You have no choice.
Guess what?
Now you're trapped in the woods and you can't get out.
Woods cycle. Enjoy that.
Imagine an environment that you just can't get out of. It's all just like you're magically contained in a prison.
Just Bermuda Triangling your ass. Oh man. All right.
Last pick.
I've got the Swarm.
You got the Gremlins.
I've got
Giant Monster.
Yeah, the Swarm is the Gremlins. The Giant Monster is the like
That's the
major chaos.
That's the crater in the world.
Yeah, the demon is the definite horror. I'll tell you, I know what I'm not picking. But I'm going to go with werewolves.
Werewolves.
Because they're people by day and fucking you up by night.
Yeah, they just eat you.
And they're like, I mean, think of like just massive dogs just ripping
you don't
apart.
stand a chance against a
No, there's
werewolf.
no shot. And you have to have the silver
You have
bullet.
to have the silver bullet, otherwise.
Like, there's nothing else.
Does the steak...
That's a vampire.
That's the vampire. Vampires are steaks and garlic.
Garlic. The garlic is the weirdest thing.
The werewolf is the silver bullet. This is I got to brush up on my Monster Squad. Remember Monster Squad movie?
Mm-hmm.
Wolfman's got nards. He kicks him in the balls. So you could kick the werewolf in the balls and,
That's not
and
going
run
to kill
away.
him. But
You can kick him in the balls and run away.
Yeah, but the only way to get rid of it is silver bullets. So like,
But come to think of it, are there any female werewolves?
Isn't there a
always just
female werewolf
curse?
in American Werewolf in Paris? That movie.
I'm sure they did one at some
There's
point.
gotta
It's
be
just
a
too
female
obvious of an
werewolf
idea
somewhere.
to have not been done.
Teenage werewolf. Maybe you get teenage werewolves.
Teen
though,
Wolf?
And they're just
Remember Teen Wolf?
yeah, Teen Wolf. And he's just like,
He plays
what
basketball.
up, guys?
The friendliest version of a werewolf possible.
Yeah, 100%.
Was
Maybe
that
you get that. I don't
Michael
know.
J. Fox?
Yeah.
All right,
Wolf.
werewolves is the last pick for
Damn,
you.
I wish someone would show up at our Halloween party as Teen Wolf. That'd be great.
That's a good costume. I feel like it's something like Nando would do.
Nando.
Yeah.
It's a good buck costume though.
Really?
Yeah, because Teen Wolf is short.
I don't remember. I guess Michael J. Fox is short, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. All right, my last pick here.
All right. You got
I know
zombies.
who I want to pick, but it is more of a character than it is a class, which is the Predator.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick it.
That's cheating.
But the Predator
You're
is
already
just
cheating
like
with aliens.
the Predator could fuck up a lot, but I'm not going to pick it because it's not like a type. It is more of a character.
Yeah, I thought we were going categories.
So I think that leaves me I'm between two here. I'm between vampires and slashers. But I think I'm going to go slashers because honestly, if I woke up tomorrow and vampires were real, not that bad.
I was going to say, like, what? They just, like, fuck all the time and, like, drink your blood.
Yeah, and then if they do,
You just
I'm a
become-
vampire now and I'm immortal.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
It is. I can fly.
Yeah, you can turn into a bat, disappear.
I love it. I love that show, What We Do in the Shadows. It's so goddamn hilarious
Oh my
because
God.
they've just lived like all these lifetimes and they exist in modern society and they've just lived together for so long that they just like the dynamic between them is just perfect. And
Yeah.
I
Great.
just love that that Taika Waititi guy is like, he's just amazing. So yeah, I'm going to go with slashers here because, you know, when you consider slashers, like if Freddy Krueger was real
A Jason.
or
a Mike
Jason or
Myers.
Mike Myers, like the ones that you can't really
I mean,
kill,
especially serial killers.
but they are unkillable. To
No,
an
I know.
extent.
They're supernatural versions of serial killers. I get it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Is like,
Superhumanness.
you know, we talk about how scary it is, like the home invasion stuff, right?
Yep.
Like somebody's lurking outside, they're trying to get in and trying to hurt you in some way. But how much is that amplified if it's Michael Myers out there or it's Jason out there or it's right? Pennywise. Like that changes like 100-fold because you're like, well, there's nothing I can do now.
Yeah.
It's over for me. Like I can't.
Especially the ones that are like shapeshifters.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Pennywise with the shape
Pennywise and Freddy Krueger's a
Freddy
shapeshifter.
Krueger as well. And Freddy Krueger, like as much shit as I give Freddy Krueger, I think he would be the last one I would want to
If
be real.
somebody good
Yeah.
took on Nightmare on Elm Street,
They
like
did
if somebody
remake that too.
good and it wasn't cheesy,
Mm-hmm.
he is terrifying.
Well, the
character
that's just it.
itself
When I,
as a
when I
standing
think
thing.
about it now in this context, where it's like you're telling me that this is real tomorrow, and it's like slashers are real, Mark. It's like which one do you not want to be real the most? It's a toss up between Freddy Krueger and Pennywise to me.
Yeah.
Because of just the sheer world reality warping manipulation that they can do. Freddy, I can't even fucking sleep. So
No.
what's
you can't. You
like
literally
I'm dead.
can't go to sleep. You'll die.
Yeah, and I'm dead awake
That's
because
that's the sleep demon.
yeah. So
Only
yeah,
I can't see mine. You
I'm
can
going
see
with the
yours.
slashers. Yeah.
It's a good one. I mean, this is a hard head to head. I mean, there's definitely some obvious ones that are like a mummy. Like, who the fuck cares?
Don't care about mummies.
Literally don't. Like the fact that it was even an option on this list, I was like, skip over you.
The Invisible Man.
No, kill yourself.
Invisible
What are you
Man.
gonna go do? Fry some fucking eggs and bacon in a pan? And set my house on fire?
Well, I mean, we've seen the Invisible Man do some damage.
I know. Just
The Kevin Bacon one, especially, he's pretty violent.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Hollow Man.
Oh, I thought you meant the original Invisible Man. That's why I was like, there's a Kevin Bacon version?
That one's bullshit. No, the Kevin Bacon, the Hollow
The
Man.
Hollow Man. Oh my God, there was a whole thing when I was a kid with my friends with Hollow Man.
Yeah. Hated the new Invisible Man.
Yeah. Nope. Stupid.
We've already gone over that. You can go back and listen to that
I mean, vampires, we already said, like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Predator, you just made that up. Trolls?
Well, there's...
Like Troll Under the Bridge trolls? I guess I was thinking like...
Or the big, large cave trolls. Like,
all
you
right.
know.
That was probably a decent one. I was thinking more of like the little rhinestone belly button thing.
No, I'm not talking about the ones with the fuzzy pink hair, Dolores.
And the blob?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
All right. So you have...
I have gremlins and giant monsters and demons and werewolves.
And I have...
It's pretty terrifying.
I have zombies, aliens, witches, and slashers.
Yeah. They're kind of like, there's the comparisons in there. Like the like for likes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, it's...
Yeah.
It's just different. A monster is just like, it's a creative way to like manifest our fears.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's so cool. I always thought about monster characters is that it's sort of a personification in a way of like fear.
The things you are terrified of. Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 30. We got a lot of horror movies to watch this weekend.
We have so many. There's such good things coming out, I think.
There's a new Candyman. There's that escape room movie. There's a new Conjuring movie, I think, that we haven't seen.
I'm just excited because it's things, I need things that are different.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep watching the same old shit.
Yeah. Escape room, I think, is sort of a different one.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. Especially because we like escape rooms. So.
All right. So we will see you next time with a bunch more movies.
Yeah.
And remember,
we don't give awards for art.